I'll tell you what I've heard on Shanahan. My belief is that there's at least, because the board is essentially 3 voting members. I know Omer's is in there now, but there's a belief that one of the 3 is ready to move on him now. And that was based on targets sent at the beginning of the year. Because believe it or not, Leafs internally do have targets. It's almost like NHL 24. Hey, you have to make the second round. Otherwise, in GM mode, you're fired.
Dude,
one of my goals was to beat the Montreal Canadiens in our first matchup of the year, and we lost.
Oh,
So
no.
I didn't get the $40,000 bonus.
You see?
Sucks.
So they have these internal things. My belief is that 1/3 of the board is already ready to move. They need 2/3 support. And so it's a question of whether the other 2 will. And I think there's 1/3 that will not. And there's 1/3 that's a bit of a wild card. But my bet, without knowing, is that they're ready. And
if they ever won the cup, MLSE could buy the moon.
Yeah. And this is the point, right? Like, people are like, oh, they must be so happy with the regular season success. You know what they're not happy with? All the deals that they're going to have to call Monday morning and say, hey, I know we had deals in place for rounds 2, 3, and 4, potentially, even 2 and 3 at this point, because, you plan ahead, and they're going to have to cancel all that money. I'll tell you this about Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. For all of their perceived lack of issues, the organization wants to win. And why does the organization want to win? Because they can make more money. So much more money.
How about all the make goods in broadcasting?
Well, that's
It was one arm of the MLSE business. But Adam, you outlined it a couple weeks ago about the desperate need from MLSE for a Leafs playoff run here, because
they need it.
You have the Raptors, who were not good for the entire season, especially the back half, and people just gave up on that team in 0 playoff dates. Now with the Leafs, you get only 3, and they're banking on so much more. You have the Argos, who have never been a revenue driver. You have TFC, who's never been the hugest revenue driver for MLSE.
No, TFC loses money. The Marlies lose money. TFC loses money. The Argonauts obviously lose money.
Well, what about Rogers? I bet they're happy with the Jays.
For Brendan Shanahan, his goal here from the top down was put a competitive product on the ice that can go a couple rounds, maybe win a thing one day, and boost our revenues, boost our brands, and have the team win. And he failed at that. And I don't know how you keep your job after just a decade of failure.
The board likes him. And clearly they do, because they sided with him over Dubas last year. The one thing I'll say, though, guys, is you have just approved a $2 million raise for a player that was making 11.5. So, or was it 13.25, whatever Matthews is going to make next year.
Oh, the Matthews.
By the way, worth it. I don't have an issue with that deal.
He got 69.
Nylander, you've just approved a $4.5 million raise for a player that was making 7, will now make 11.5.
Yeah,
Nylander
led
no
the
issue.
team in goals. Matthews led the team in points per game while looking half dead.
But this is a corporation, so look at it as a corporation thing. Okay, we're going to spend $6 million on these 2 guys, and guess what? They're our highest performing guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're the team's most marketable superstars, and I say that Matthews, Nylander, 1-2 in marketability. Okay,
it was Mitch until his agent fucked it up.
Now you got you've got a player that is going to be out of contract in 16 months. And you're telling me, you're going to come to me as a board, as a business person, that bringing this player back and keeping this team together at more expense to the organization is a good idea. Explain to me how that's possible. And this is where I go back to, I don't think there's another choice for Shanahan other than forfeiture of his job. And the reason I say that is, okay, yeah, the Leafs are so much better. Shanny did a great job of making sure they didn't cut corners in development. And
he did a lot of good things.
He did a lot of good things.
Let's not pretend like he wasn't here for a decade and did
exclusively
nothing.
He completely transformed the organization. They were a joke. I know people call the Leafs a joke now. You have no idea.
The professionalism, the way he honored the past, he did a lot of really good things.
The logo redesign, even spectacular. He did amazing things.
Please don't, whoever's new, please don't touch it, except give me the green St. Pat's jersey, I swear to God.
My point is, it's time. And then we know Keefe is as good as gone. And we know, so you're going to see a lot of reports about the Toronto Maple Leafs in the coming weeks. There's already one out there that they're interested in Craig Berube. I would suggest that if they go and hire Craig Berube, it's not because they're interested now. They have not even begun that process. And so anybody suggesting that right now, I would call that into question, because Craig Berube is not signing with the Senators because he's waiting for the Leafs job. We know that.
I mean, everyone is going to be planting some sort of rumor that they're involved in
Of
Leafs
course they are.
conversations
Of course
to
they are.
get their bread up.
Of course, get the money up. My point in all this is that you cannot, as a board, responsibly go forward with re-signing this player or bringing Shanahan back. To me, you have a better argument of bringing Shanahan back than you do of Mitch Marner. And I think, again, it goes back to I think Mitch is ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing for either side.
No.
Sometimes it's just time.
Adam,
And spread this money out.
you know, this one is far more difficult to do. JT.
Oh, that's going to happen too. Buddy.
Marner's
right.
That is for sure going to happen.
I don't think either player is worth the money. And Tavares, I mean, we always knew how this deal was going to age.
Yes, because the time to win the cup was 19, 20, and 21.
Yeah.
We've said that a million times.
Yeah, we all knew how this deal was going to age. Marner is a lot closer to an $11 million player than JT is. And I don't know how on earth you move it. It's only 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the real dollars are paid. You move that deal. You move that deal to a team that's trying to. They've paid it out. That deal's done.
Jesse's.
It's going to be like as soon as July 1st hits, that deal is going to be like $900,000.
Yeah, if the team cares about the actual money that's being paid out, on July 1st, John Tavares will get a $7 million signing bonus, and then the actual money that needs to be paid out for the season of 24-25 will be $910,000.
Look for a Tavares trade.
Dude,
July
he's still-
2nd.
He's still a really good player. If you have the cap room, which not many teams do, but if you have the cap room, you're getting a 60, 70 point guy, 25 goal guy for like free.
And if you're the Leafs, you're retaining on that cap hit because it's quite a bit much for one team to absorb. I would retain on that. And you're retaining like Klingberg's contract that's going out, it's going to be available. So you're doing that. Plus, it's not, I shouldn't even say you're that, because you're dumping half of John Tavares. So you're only keeping him on for half of that. So it's not like an immovable deal. I think if there's a trade out there that's value, you kind of do it.
It's also more difficult with JT. He's got 3 kids. You know what I mean? And like Mitch has a full no move. JT has a full no move, but like that complicates.
You know what I look at?
Easier to get to convince to waive it.
Now, ideally, if Tavares' deal would end this year, I'd be like, sign him up at $5 million. I'm fine with that. But
I'd take him back.
But the Leafs, I love Tavares. I don't think he can be captain anymore. But he has always done the right thing as captain of the Leafs. He's been the best captain they've had since Matt's. And I have nothing but respect for this player.
It's a short list.
It's a short list, but I will say that means something though.
Dion is the list.
You skipped over one guy.
Yeah, because they fucking refused to name a captain for half a decade because they sucked.
It's just funny.
What a messy organization. Here's what I look at. Here's what I look at. You know, something I keep an eye on for
Brian Burke said in his book, by the way, sorry, Adam, that they considered naming Jamal Mayers captain.
I know. That's what a mess.
That's
what a mess.
Where we were at. Anyway,
Whoa.
Sorry.
Here's what I'm looking at. Okay. First off, the Leafs are not a team that's afraid to trade within their division. There's 3 teams I'm looking at right now.
Oh, another thing. Sorry. Yeah.
If the Leafs are going to move on from Tavares, it's going to be they're going to try not to retain as much. Maybe they retain 25%. I mean, if Carlson got moved and his retention was like 20%.
Off a 100-point season.
Yeah, but you can move Tavares. And the team that sticks out to me the most that needs a guy like this, that has the cap room, that's 1 year commitment, and probably signs him up for longer, who do you think I'm talking about?
You said in the division?
Not in the division. There is one in the division, but this is not the one.
No.
There's 2 in the division.
I mean, my default answer for the next several months for everything is going to be Utah.
No. Chicago.
Oh.
Because they are bringing guys in to pad the lineup, which has been atrocious outside of Bedard. They're going to get probably a top 3 guy this year unless the lottery balls go bonkers. And you need a good leader who's been there to bring these guys up. It puts Tavares in a major city center. It puts...
That's not bad.
It probably gives them a pretty good reason to re-sign him afterwards. Remember, Corey Perry and Nick Foligno got $4 million a piece from the Blackhawks last year. They want players like Tavares. And I think he's a perfect fit for a guy who can take a lot of the crappy responsibilities off of Connor Bedard and teach him some of the defensive ropes. I like that.
Going to be real tough for him to win a cup there. And he doesn't have one.
Well, that might not be... And listen, by the way, if you have a no-move clause and a team wants to trade you, trust me when I tell you, there are so many ways for teams to make things so uncomfortable that you'll accept a no trade. Trust me. Happens all the time. Never gets reported. Trust me. Trust me, bro, is what I'll say.
Unless it comes out in Brian Burke's book.
Buffalo Sabres are another team I look at. And I think
I would rather die.
Well, I don't actually care. Because all I care about is the Leafs getting better.
No, on principle, I'd rather die.
See, I don't give a shit about principle. Principle is what costs you. Principle, not trading within your division costs you. The other team I look at is the Detroit Red Wings.
Also rather die.
I think they need a center. I think a guy like, again, if you get Tavares at $6 million, guys, you get Tavares at 6.5. That's a great contract for that player.
Where's the option where I die?
And listen, they're not going to get much back, but they get the cap space back, and that's the key. Marner, I think you get real assets plus cap. Tavares, I think you have to retain significant, probably 20-25%.
Losing both of them at once, I mean, like, listen, we're all mad now. You do have to replace that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, that is the job.
Oh, you know what, Steve? You know what? You're right. Let's take the easy route and keep them all together.
No, yep. No,
But this is where I get so...
That's such a good point. So next year, if they get worse, I mean, we'll be able to criticize, well, hey, you made stupid decisions. Why'd you do that? They have to make the attempt.
Yeah, you got to do something different. That's
I'm
all
so
we're asking.
sick
If
of...
you get worse, you get worse. You can't keep doing this.
Yeah, we're asking for Jason Dickinson and Seth Jones 50% retained for John Tavares. At least it's different.
I'm all done.
Yo.
I'm all done with the argument that I see out there on Twitter time and time again. Well, if you lose this guy, what do you replace him with?
Anything.
I don't know, man. I'm not a GM. I run a podcast network with my 2 business partners and best friends. That's what I do. You know who gets paid $1 million plus, $2 million, $3 million to run the Leafs?
Who?
Brad Treliving. You know who gets $6 or $7 million? Brendan Shanahan. Guys, you get paid that much money because it's your job to figure it out. So instead of going, well, who would they get? Listen, you can take your Reddit trades, and that's totally cool. Enjoy doing that. But the reality is that you have to put, as the fan, the responsibility on the people in charge who are making the money. I don't know what the problem solve is. That's your job. What I'm telling you is you need to admit the problem and you must move on from it.
One thing I'll never forgive Brendan Shanahan for, and I'll talk about this in the video when he's ultimately fired. It's coming. He had 10 years. He had over a decade to assemble a Leafs team that looked remotely like him. One of the greatest power forwards to ever play. 600 goals, huge, would fight, would be the biggest son of a bitch to play against. Played in some of the most violent, hateful rivalries of all time. And he assembled this. Did you... I think his biggest weakness is he only saw his career through his own eyes. God, I wish you could have seen it from the TV. This team plays nothing like you, Brendan. Look at the success you had on the ice.
And then you come with a theory. What was crazy about it is he knew what it took to win. And then he comes to the Leafs and employs a theory that's antithetical to the way he won, which is we're just going to get penalties. we're going to get penalties called. Instead of fighting back, we're going to turn the other cheek and we're going to get the call. And guess what? They didn't get any of the calls. And when they did get the calls, they couldn't effing score anyway. Their power play more than once has looked like crap rolling into the playoffs. And this coaching staff, by the way, not just Sheldon, they're all gone.
Barbecued.
Oh my gosh.
They're gone.
They might hold on to one or two of the assistants, but like they're barbecued.
No.
Hold on. Wait. The review staff.
That's
The guys in charge.
I'm
Whoever
not-
those
no,
guys
no,
are,
no,
you keep.
We're not talking about
the
that.
two guys on the bench next to Keith.
I'm talking about the 5 guys that they have. Keefe,
They have so many guys.
offensive coordinator, defense coordinator, power play, and penalty kill. Gone.
And you know what, Mike Van Ryn? Didn't like your game when you were here.
I actually liked him.
No,
I
he's
thought he was good.
actually decent, and I really liked you when you were here.
Yeah, and
No, but
his injuries got him. Right?
I just don't like you as a head coach.
When he was a Leaf,
As a coach assistant.
when Mike Van Ryn was a Leaf, he wasn't Mike Van Ryn the Leaf as much as he was not Brian McCabe the Leaf.
Yeah.
Because that was his job, to be not Brian.
He was
McCabe.
good. He was good. There's just a bad team. I think ultimately we know. I think the fans know what's going to happen here, and I just really want to emphasize: don't let them tell you that it can't happen. Oh, the Leafs are in a hard spot. Oh, I'm sorry.
Lots of
Well,
teams are in a
that gives
hard
them.
spot.
You know what? Then that's great.
LA 's
You know
in
what?
a hard
It was.
spot.
Was it too
Pittsburgh.
hard for them? Oh, I can't imagine. That must be hard.
Dude, it's the show. It's the show.
It's supposed to be hard.
It's the National Hockey League. It's the best league in the world. Nothing comes easy. The reigning Stanley Cup champions have to play Game 7 because they forced it. It's a hard league.
I think for Keith Pelly coming in, he officially took took his job, his role on April 1st, I believe it was. This loss for him makes it easier because you have a clear outline here of what you have in terms of the players and what they can do, and in terms of the upper management, Brendan Shanahan, downwards of how they performed of 10 years. They've been giving this runway. And for him, you know what you have. So I think it'll be easy for Keith Pelly to come in and crack skulls and make a whole bunch of changes because the results aren't there.
I agree.
Hell of a
And I
beautiful
think,
league.
Jesse,
we would have been kicked off the podium by now.
I think that
Oh.
they, and I said this last week, I think that they've been interviewing candidates in case this happened.
Mhm.
It happened.
Mm-hmm.
So now all of those candidates who knew, hey, this job might not be available if the Leafs go 3 rounds deep here, now know that it is. And what creates the inertia is all of these candidates going back to Keith and saying,
Good word.
hey, Keith, like, I really have a plan here that could really work. And what Keith, and if Brendan comes into Keith's office, which he will, and he'll say, hey, Keith, we have a plan that we believe will work. If you're Keith Pelly, am I going to take the known quantity? I know that this team does not do well under this person. Or am I going to take a chance,
Magic beans.
pick my guy who I believe
Yeah.
can do this, and go, listen, I'm the CEO. I need to make CEO decisions.